What's up, folks? Anybody there yet? Made some coffee at home today. Braxall says you got the gold guitar back. You know, I had it just in the other room. It was in my guitar vault in the other room. So it's been here, but I still want to switch the trem. That's the only thing on it. It's got the old 510 trem, which is fine and everything, but I just, I really dig the new one. So the locking one. So there's Ben Coombs, Natasha. Got Chicago in the house here with Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. What else? What's going on this week? I've got a kind of a, well, it's a very unique pedal. It's a cool video, I think, coming out tomorrow morning. So I can't tell you what it is, but because it's being released tomorrow. But it's one of the most unique pedals I've ever seen. And to make the video, they asked me to do a unboxing, which I never like doing because I always think they're kind of, it's just like silly, weird. But I get why they did it, because when I opened it, I was like, oh, like it's kind of a thing. So anyway, I did it, and I got a genuine, I think, look of surprise when I opened it, just because it is unique packaging and stuff like that. But anyways, I think that's what they were going for. Cool pedal, really cool. And the track, I had a lot of fun doing the track. Anybody out there that produces music, I got a great drum program this week for Contact Player, which I don't really understand yet. I'm not a native instruments Contact Player guy. That I haven't used it a lot. Contact Player, for those that don't know, is like it's like a sample player, and then you can get a bunch of different stuff for it, like orchestra samples or piano or different drum programs, kits, whatever they call them, packages, and you sort of load up different instruments in Contact. So it's like a shell sort of for guitar players can be like, dude, you lost me. Talk about pedals. But anyway, point is that the drums, it's a new Butch Vig drums package for Contact Player. And it's really, really great sounds in there. Like the drums are really, really inspiring, like crazy sounding, sort of distorted drums or gates, or like really aggressive sounding stuff, where it sounds like you put a ton of time into making this wild drum sound, but it was really just a preset you pulled up in Butch Vig drums. So Joe says, Butch Vig drums. Yeah, it's really cool. Jimmy says, are you still using Luna instead of Logic? I did do this one in Luna because of the nature of the pedal. It's funny, for those who don't know, Luna is what they call it, a recording system, but it's the universal audio. I think of it still as a DAW, really, but it is integrated on the input side as well, which a DAW isn't. So it is unique. And there's still some things about Luna that are somewhat difficult for me, but I'm getting better at it, and so that makes me want to use it more. And with Luna, I'm finding myself gravitating towards using it when I want a real analog sound, because it's got this great warm, with the summing and the Neve tape stuff built in. It's got a great warm sound to it. So for this particular demo, I really wanted that. So yes, I started it in Luna. Somebody's asking about the black hole reverb. For instance, on that, I didn't. I just did it in Logic. Something about it being more just kind of like trying to show off a reverb pedal almost with clean tones and stuff. And I didn't feel like I need that warm, gooey, like I did the Ombre video for the Sir Ombre all in Luna, because that's a great indication of the sound, actually, that particular video, because I was going for that old ZZ Top sound. I really think I could achieve it with Luna better, getting closer to that analog thing. Arthur's up there in the top chat, super chat. Thanks, Arthur. Too kind. He says he's just supporting the cause. Appreciate it. Thank you. And Rich is up there as well, and he said, great demo of the Black Hole Reverb. However, if there was a right time and right guy to play Black Hole Sun, you left us hanging. Well, the Black Hole Reverb doesn't have anything to do with Black Hole Sun, and it's not a rotary pedal. You said you're disappointed. I think you left a comment on the video that said that as well. Where's another pedal that would be a completely appropriate use? I had it around out here. There's a Donner Prince pedal that would be the appropriate Black Hole Sun sound pedal. See, I would have to add another pedal to it, and then it wouldn't make any sense. It would just be, I know it's Black Hole in name, but then there's a, I'll just let it go. But thanks for doing the super chat. I do appreciate it. Anyway, I've got to make a video of this pedal, Donner Prince Pulse. This is a rotary pedal. It's got fast and slow speeds, and you can kind of switch between them just like you would on a real Leslie. So this will be fun. Got that coming up. And then a plugin that I did, a Guitar Rig 6 that I did some stuff for that's coming out. Got some. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about it yet. Actually, I think I am. I think it's okay. I'm doing some presets for Guitar Rig 6. I might have talked about it last week, excuse me. But anyway, presets in a song for a video that I did and show the thing and all that, like I always do. Anyways, what else we got here? What songs work best with phaser? Phaser, well, if it's phase 90, it's Eddie Van Halen punching in and out on solos and stuff, or on, certain rhythm parts. If it's, what's the other good use of, other phaser? Who used phase 45? Did Trower use phase 45 a lot? Other phaser stuff. I always think of the beginning of Lightning Crashes by the band Live. You know that. It's just that really simple. What a great track. That whole, that thing. It's so great. It's just a simple guitar part, and then he sings that great melody on the top, and the lyrics are great. And I always like that track. It's kind of noisy, the guitar sound. It's that you can hear the hiss. It's very imperfect sounding. I like that track. But anyway, that's phaser, I think. I don't think it's flanger. I think it's phaser. Right? Do you prefer fuzz or overdrive, says Diego? I'm going to go with overdrive, 70% of the time, but fuzz is really fun for certain things. So Mike's saying he thinks Lightning Crashes was flange. I always thought it was phase. It might be flange. I don't know. I'm remembering it right now. Somebody was like phaser, and that was the song that popped in my head. It might be flange, like a real warm flange. They can sound similar, sometimes if you set an Electric Mistress can be a very versatile pedal that either sounds like chorus, or sometimes that is, if you're not getting too much of the jet swoop thing, if you set it more mellow as far as, I guess, the regeneration or the feedback, a flanger can start to sound pretty, because they're kind of doing a similar thing. I think, it's about it's kind of phasing a flanger, really. I think, because you're introducing a delayed signal that's a short delay back into the sound and then modulating the time or whatever, right? I think that's how it's done. And chorusing is similar. It's just a longer delay time, I think. And it makes it kind of phase, comb filter, or, so this is why these things can get kind of... Jake says Lightning Crashes is a univibe? Really? If he used what was on his live board at the time. Univibe. It doesn't really sound like Univibe to me. It's too even. Univibe's got that lumpy thing in it, It's a different sound. It's similar as well, but it's got that lump in it. But anyways, Todd says he considers fuzz more of a specific or niche sound. Angus is... Oh, somebody's up there in the top chat. I get that there. Thanks, says 777 Danny EP. Thank you. Thank you. I just missed... Oh, there it is. Angus says, do you think you would do a PT15 plugin like the PT100, or do you feel like the 15 is different amp? In a plugin, I don't really think it would make my... I think you can basically do it. Digital simulation, you've got it in the 100. Because a PT15 is simply a PT, it's very similar. I mean, the clean channel is a different thing. Clean channel is a little more like a Bella, and it's just a slightly different sound, whereas a PT100 is a little more, it's the classic sort of blackface clean channel, just tweaked to what we liked. Slightly different, but you could, you can dial them in to sound very similar. So long story short, I don't think it would make sense to do a PT15 plugin. Now, future things that we're working on, they're a little bit different. Yeah, then it would make sense, I think. But that's down the road, because we're going to be doing some different stuff. Vibhas Patil is up there in the super duper chat. Thank you, good sir. At what point does using a switcher become a better tonal option than running the signal through all the pedals? And to what extent can a buffer help if you're running a signal through everything? You don't like complex switching. This is a good question. Switcher is beneficial for a few different things for me. Number one, with a good switcher on a pedal board, you can still use your pedal board like a normal pedal board. You could simply set up a patch where all the switches are on, all the loops are on. Then you've got your pedal board. You're running into the switcher, but it's splitting out to all the pedals, and maybe buffering too, because like my switcher's got a buffer in it. Most of them have a buffer, or maybe two, where you can switch the location of one of the buffers. And so anyways, you don't really lose anything, I don't think. I mean, it's just, other than, some extra weight you've got because you've got a switcher on there. It's just a better way to do it, in my opinion, unless you've got 6 pedals on a board or something. If you're getting above that, it's like, okay, it's time to get into switcher territory, because you say you don't like complex switching, but complex switching to me is when I got to tap dance to get to where I want to get as far as the tone goes, right? So for me, a switcher makes sense, because I got used to, in the 90s at some point, mid 90s, I guess, to pushing one button and have everything change. I had a GCX system with a GCX, the ground control switcher, and the GCX rack thing with my pedals on a drawer and a rack. And I had a little 6-space rack. The SKB rack really was a piece of crap, the rack, but it worked fine. And I used to drop that rack into a road case that I still have. That's how I would fly it around. It was a lot of stuff. It was like the rack goes in a box and just fly, and then I had the separate pedal board. It was too much, but I managed to make it work. Actually worked pretty good for in-town stuff. So the rack was only 6 spaces, but anyways. What's my point with all this? Oh, I just got used to, hitting one button and being able to A/B my amp. I think at the time I had when I had that rack, I had a Marshall DSL 50, very simple, one of those old DSL 50 heads. So I could go between the channels, and I could turn pedals on and off, and switch. I had a Rocktron Replifex, so it would switch via MIDI. And that would go in the loop of the DSL 50. And then I had like 6 or 7 pedals in front that I could turn on and off. I got a lot of tones out of that rig, and it was very versatile, just being able to switch on the fly. So anyway, I got used to it, and I like being able to push one button and have all my stuff change and go to the perfect sound. So, I would say I do have small pedal boards. I have one small pedal board that's got like 6 pedals on it, or 7 pedals. And that's nice to have around for just plugging into and instant access to the, without a switcher and all that. But anything beyond that, I just like having a switcher. Like I say, you can always create a patch that has everything on, all the pedals on. And then it's like you've got your pedal board, where you can just instant access everything and turn it on and off. So you don't really lose anything other than having to add the weight of the switcher and the extra stuff. I have a Marshall that needs servicing. Who do I recommend? Definitely Friedman. That's FX Steen. Depending on where you are, if you want to ship it. But Dave knows Marshalls inside and out better than anybody I know. So yeah, his email is racksystems@yahoo.com. Of course, you could probably find him through the Tone Talk YouTube page, I would think. But Romero says Angry Charlie versus AT Plus. I like both those pedals, but I don't know if the Andy Timmons, I don't know how different it is, to be honest. But I really like the Andy Timmons overdrive I did a demo of. And I used to have I think it was called the Sweet Tea, which was a Angry Charlie on one side and then like a Tube Screamer style drive on the other side. That was a great pedal too. All kind of cool, all the ones from the JHS line that do that. All based, I think, on a Governor style circuit. Bluesbreaker or Governor? Anyway. Angus says we're constantly trying to emulate our heroes like Van Halen and Hendrix, and there are lots of products that we argue about to get close. What current players can you see us doing the same with in 20 years? Well, I think people already do that with John Mayer, to be honest. I mean, people go for the, there's lots of YouTube videos about getting the John Mayer sound from Gravity or something, So I think Mayer is one that has, let's say, like elevated to that. Does he use the Dumble? Does he use the Two Rock? Does he use his signature amp? People, he's got a pretty healthy fan base of people talking about this stuff. To be honest, probably as many people as there is talking about, Eddie Van Halen these days and his tones. Who else? I do think that there's a somewhat of a lack of, like, it was the adventure of finding your own tone back in the day of somebody like Richie Blackmore or Brian May or Eddie Van Halen or U2, The Edge. He was the one that people chase the tone and try and figure out his exact, how do you get the sound from this or that. That's an interesting, black hole to go down, like the Edge sound. You go to some of these sites where guys are trying to exactly recreate his tones using Axe effects and stuff, similar to the Van Halen thing, I guess. But it was a combination of the sum of the parts thing back in the day, where people. I was playing an old Hiwatt this week at Friedman's, actually, because he's got an old Hiwatt PA head, but he's had it converted to, it's basically like got a couple of the different circuits of the standard Hiwatt guitar heads. It's just like a Hiwatt guitar head on the inside, but it was the PA one that had the multiple channels, and so you can make it, you can modify them real easy to be like with different inputs and stuff and get the different sounds of the different Hiwatt circuits. And what a, unique, piercing, pummeling sound that is, like the Hiwatts. It's so loud, it's just out of control. It's like it makes a 100-watt Marshall look like. I mean, there's something about the frequencies of them that are just so, penetrating, and it's just like this upper mid thing. You just get tinnitus instantly when you play that thing. But it is a cool thing. It punches you right in the chest. The sound is very aggressive, and not really gainy, but it feeds back anyway because of all the mids in the signal. So that's a unique thing. But anyway, combinations of those amps with, like, I was like, I wonder how Gilmour sets up a Hiwatt, because it's such a unique platform with sound. And those are the things. These guys used to use these with certain pedals, or certain Brian May with his crazy guitar with the wacky Burns pickups and the crazy design, and you kind of almost have to get the guitar in order to even get somewhere close. Ty Tabor was another one that's, a little more underground, but like, I've got that L5 back there because I had to get it to see if I could sort of get that sound. So I do these things too, Ryan's up there in the top chat. Thanks, man. He says, super chat. He says, what's the story of your black Strat with the Floyd and one pickup? Is it the body shape of Charvel or Fender Strat? I'm just gonna answer Bobby's question here, because Bobby's up there too, and his is gonna disappear. What is your favorite? And I'll come back to you. What's your favorite instrumental song that you like to play or aspire to play? Instrumental song. God, man. I mean, I think about ones over the years that I've just been kind of gone down the rabbit hole into. I mean, for sure, Eruption, right? That's the one probably most people would know me for because of the lesson video where I went down that rabbit hole. But other ones like 'Cause We've Ended as Lovers, I remember getting into that for a minute and really trying to nail the tone. I did a little short video of like a verse and chorus of it, where I was playing, you could find that on YouTube from many years ago, where I was trying to play like Jeff, and that's a fun one. I remember when I was a kid, Satch and Boogie, I had to get that down, which I sort of like aped in. What's the song? I don't wear my glasses so I can read easier. Dirty Town, my song Dirty Town, that was really an ode to that. It's not the same, but it's like that style. So there's a few. Totally different, I guess. Your boogie, you got your high octane Eruption thing, and then you got your melodic 'Cause We've Been as Lovers. All those I think are great. I guess I like the full octane rock and roll stuff, and then I love beautiful melody when it comes to like You know, I didn't even know "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers" was a. It's you know, it was the woman that Stevie Wonder was seeing at the time. They were making her name's Sir. Oh man, I'm gonna forget her name. It was like Soraya or something like that. Is that her name? Anyway, they were making an album, and that song is like, it's beautiful when you listen to it. It's got lyrics. If nobody's heard it, you know, it's the song was written in 1970 or 71 or something, and there's lyrics. It's not a Jeff Beck track. He did a cover of it. So if you've never heard the original, go listen to it because it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful, and you can hear where Jeff got his thing from. And I realized that my buddy Reggie's playing bass on it, on the original version. I did a tour with him in 2016 in France with Michel Polnareff, and he was the bass player. And Reggie used to play with Stevie Wonder back in the day, and Stevie Wonder was producing that record. They were making it together, and it's an ode to their breakup. They were making this record, you know, and they wrote that song about their own breakup. Well, it's so crazy. It's really great. It's a great sound. But anyway, so I always loved that track, and I guess that's why maybe Jeff was able to, you know, because you know, learning the melody from a singer it made a lot of sense to me after I realized that I you know, it was one of those songs that I didn't realize was a cover. Is what I'm getting at. I'm digressing. Anyways, have I ever used a tape echo, Korg or Roland? Dre. Okay, I'll come right back to that. Arthur's up there in the top chat, and I just don't want it to disappear. Is Bob Clear Mountain Part 2 video coming? Yes, it's just one of those things. I got to get it done. Yes, I promise. So many projects to finish. Dre Day says, have you ever used a tape echo? Yeah. Back in the day, I'll always remember. I think the first one I ever plugged into was a Space Echo, actually, not an Echoplex. And it blew me away because the preamp in them just does something to the sound. So, like, even when you weren't really using it as a delay or an echo, just the preamp getting involved into the guitar signal in the front end is like, well, this thing just sounds better. My guitar tone sounds better with this in front of an amp. So I loved it. Thoughts on use? I think the Space Echo is more, you know, if you're, it's really like a tape memory, man, or something. It's like there's a little mod to it, and it's got the multiple heads, and it's got the wacky reverb built in. I like the Space Echo for more like cleaner stuff, I think, or more like, you know, anything you would use an analog mod echo for, but maybe you want a tape quality. That's Space Echo to me. You know, more like if you were going to use a deluxe memory man or something with a bit of the, you know, you want the edge warble on it, but it's like, what would it sound like if I went to, you know, like if I'm doing this in a plugin, I'll gravitate for that. Like if I want the edge, but a little weirder, you know, tape echo quality, I'll use the Space Echo. Echoplex is a little more rock and roll to me, a little more like distorted into the front of a distorted Marshall or whatever, just because I think about like Joe Walsh and, Eddie Van Halen or something as the, you know, Jimmy Page, I guess. You know, those, I guess there's probably some rock guys that use Space Echoes, but I always think more Space Echo, the main user I think of as well. Brian Setzer for sure. Use one for slap. But you know, he's rock and roll. But I think of it as more I don't know, like new wave guys or something, or like, you know, players like that using the roll and stuff. And then the Echoplex was more rock guys. So that's the thoughts on use. You know, if I'm going for more of the Eddie Van Halen slap or something, you know, 300 millisecond with a repeat or two in front and real low mix so you can use it in front of distortion, that's an Echoplex to me. There's definitely a lot of crossover. You could make them both work, I think, for the different sounds. Chris Cooley makes a good point here, moving back to the pedal boards, switchers, and that stuff, that discussion. He says a good switcher can also reorder pedals dynamically. That's true. Plus, it is hard to make all button individual pedals accessible like a switcher can. Yeah, you can reorder in the Boss or even in my Musicom. I don't really do that, but you can. And I haven't even gotten into that in my Musicom. I just never found the need. The way I ordered the pedals was good, but if you're a pedal like for instance, if you've got a clean amp, if you're a clean amp kind of player and you use pedals for distortion, and you want to get that Eddie Van Halen slap or something on a certain sound, you could use something like a plexi style pedal and then put a tape style delay in front of it on your pedal board for a certain sound to get that kind of like aggressive, slightly sloppy slap in front of distortion. And then if you go to another sound where you want a long, beautiful delay, you can order it after your overdrive, right? And you can do all of that stuff with a switcher. So it does give you these great capabilities that makes your rig more versatile. I just love that. I'm not a tap dancer. I don't know. I don't want to get to the chorus and have to change 3 pedals while you're going into a background vocal or something, that would not work for me. It just doesn't make sense in my head. But yeah, Jake says he loves the Replifex. I mentioned the Replifex earlier. It was great, man. There were some great rack effects, in the 80s, the 90s, obviously, the big ones, the PCM 41s and 42s and the SD 3000s and the H3000s and stuff, but there's some other ones that folks don't talk about much. The Replifex was great for a lot of Rocktron stuff was really good. Like the Replifex has a terrific Leslie sound in it. Really good. And just a good multi-effect thing that you could do reverb and echo with, reverb delay, like reverb delay rotary. Those are the main things I used in it, I guess, in my loop. I used to have a great sound where I set a phase 90 slow, and then I set the Leslie and the Replifex fast with some echo and reverb, and it was this wonderful, with the sweep of the phaser slow and then the fast rotary going. That's my Leslie imitation. That's a sign language for Leslie. Sorry. Arvin says, what's the big difference between playing guitar now versus 30 years ago? I guess the internet. Doing what we're doing right now, talking about guitar. Coffee in here today. Delish. Got some blue bottle coffee. The beans were a little darker than I thought they were going to be. Yeah. Delish. I've been switching to lighter roast lately. Gotta mix it up. This is kind of a dark roast. Good. Biggest difference, the internet and being able to learn. I was actually watching. I was showing somebody last night the Paul Gilbert intense rock video where I basically learned how to alternate pick fast, relatively fast. I could never do it as fast as him. Who can? But I worked on it really hard, and my technique did get a lot better watching that video. And I was explaining that I watched it on VHS, and then if you wanted to really slow down, for instance, his intro solo, I would take the output of the VHS recorder and run it into a 4-track and record it on the 4-track at 3 3/4 IPS or whatever, and slow it down to 1 7/8, and then I could hear what he was playing at the beginning. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff that's different now. In the YouTube video, I can just go in and slow it down, and listen to it's kind of easier in a way, but there's also less mystery. And I think maybe that is, I guess it's good and bad because the curtain's kind of been pulled back on how to do a lot of stuff. And, now you see 13-year-old kids pulling off stuff that, you're like, oh, great. It took me forever to figure out how to do that. But there's a little less mystery to everything. I kind of miss the mystery of, we were talking about rock shows in the 80s or 90s, when you used to line up for tickets, pre-Ticketmaster and all that, and you get a great seat and be like super excited. And then you go to the show because, you buy the tickets and anticipate for 3-4 weeks leading up to the gig. Oh, this is going to be awesome. And then, the day of the gig would come, you get all ready and you go, and the lights, like you get in a venue and you go buy your t-shirt or whatever, get your beverage, go down to your seat, and they're playing a cool rock and roll. Everybody's getting ready for the gig. I don't know. Does anybody remember this stuff? It's like some of you guys do for sure, right? And it was just like this electric energy in the venue because you weren't inundated via Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and stuff with, kind of, like the first time you saw the band live wasn't some concert movie on your phone on Instagram or whatever, which is just not really. It's really neat, the convenience of it, but it's not the impact of Van Halen walking on stage in your hometown. and you'd only heard them on the record, listened to it probably on vinyl, maybe on CD or whatever, but in the early days, vinyl cassette, and cranked it in your car. And then the next time you heard that song was in your hometown hockey arena at about, 115 dB, like coming out of this PA, the lights go down, crowd goes crazy. You see them walking on stage. They're like real life superheroes, right? Coming on stage, like, oh my God, I can't believe they're in my town. There's that guy. He's real. He's not just a figment of my imagination. And then the lights come up and, and it just sounds like, I don't know. And even the PAs and stuff back then, it was so different, it weren't these line array PAs and stuff. It was those big old stack Martin PAs, with analog consoles and stuff. And it was different. And it was just so thrilling. I don't know. And you got it once. They played that song. Maybe you filmed it on your Super 8 camera if you snuck it in or whatever. But other than that, like you guys see on YouTube now and stuff, these movies that people took in the whole day, of shows, you couldn't film it on a phone. So you were engaged because you didn't have your phone out and taking pictures and video and all that. You were very present. People were more present and less ADD and, and so that was just different. I don't know. It was exciting, and the whole idea of arena rock, and that was kind of it was the make a record, play it, do a tour, make a record, do a tour, and that was the thing. And the record business was booming, and there was a lot of, I don't know, just the fanfare and I don't know. It was an exciting time. So it's different. Now it's served up to you on your screen, on your device in front of you. I'm not saying it's all bad or anything now. I don't want to sound like some curmudgeon. There's some really cool things about it. I like the convenience of it and stuff too. And it makes it easy to sit down and learn something, but it's also a little overwhelming because there's so much coming at you, It didn't used to be so much content, so much, it was a little, I don't know. What did I see the other day? It was a program on Oasis. It's on Netflix. It's a documentary, and it was kind of up till takes you from the beginning, like the club days, and when they were just getting started, through the second record when they were just massive in like 1996, and playing gigs that were just huge. And they were mentioning in that it's kind of a neat thing because it's right before the dawn of the internet. I mean, the internet was kind of starting then, but nobody had it, And it was this innocent time where, like in music, the mid 90s, where it was the end of what I'm talking about with the rock concerts, and Oasis hit that stride, and they were like in England, at least for sure, and different countries around the world. We were never quite as big in the US, but so massive in the UK. And that's the ride I'm talking about, where they were on that ride with just pre-internet, and then everything kind of changed a little bit once the internet starts. But anyways, it's fascinating, 95, 96, 97, interesting time. Bill is up there in the top chat, and he says, enjoy your Sunday, and thank you. Love your live chats. Thanks, man. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And thanks for doing the super duper chat. You're a good man. Disco Scotty is up there too in the super chat. He says, what's the biggest difference between the Sir Thornbucker and Aldrich sets? Well, completely different. Aldrich would be a balanced wind, I think, and it's Alnico 5, I think, but an extremely they're hot. They're 16K, but they do sound not like a mid bomb. John somehow made them sound pretty balanced. I think the Aldridge neck pickup is really similar to an SSV. The bridge pickup is real hot, different. I do have one in one guitar. I have them in my modern, the Aldridge set. The Thornbucker bridge pickup is going to be much lower output, and it's going to be sweet. It's a real sweet sounding pickup, the bridge pickup. It's gonna be less probably aggressive, and a little more like the balance is going to be a little more. I find Alico 4 is very balanced sound. Like it's a little more, a little less bass and treble, which makes it sound like I'm saying there's more mids, but it's not really. It's not like, okay, when I think about a JB, it's like a lot of upper. That it's almost like I think of a JB almost like a V30. It's got like a real mid-range that works great with distortion to cut, but then if you play clean, it's a certain thing, The Thornbuckers is like a sweetness to it. just a balanced kind of sweetness that can sound great for a lot of different things. Clean. I mean, it sounds really nice clean by itself, which for a bridge humbucker, I don't think a lot of bridge humbuckers sound great clean by themselves. The Thornbucker actually does. It's very sweet sounding. Sometimes I find myself almost surprised when I'll be, trying to come up with a part for a demo video or something and I'm like, I like the bridge pickup on its own, kind of like, which I love it split and I love combining it with other pickups and stuff, but for like a clean part, sometimes it just sounds so pure. It has a pure sweetness to it that's really nice. Yeah. Between the Sir ML or V60s, which you prefer in an HSS guitar? This is a real toss-up for me. That's just coming from John. I've asked John a lot recently. Not a lot, but I've asked him a couple times recently. Can you explain to me the difference? And he did. Like the V60 LP is the only V60 that I've tried, the low peak. And they're okay. So the V60 LP is the greasiest mids. I think the ML, which they now call the V63, it can get a little confusing because you got you got a V60, V60 LP, and now the V63, which is formerly the ML. So probably the most vintagey, stratty, a little more cluck in the 2 and 4 and all that is the V63. The V60 LP is great with gain and mixes well with humbuckers because John made it to be a little more, the low resonant peak gives it a little more in the mids. And I think Sir feels like that translates to better overdrive character sometimes. So especially maybe in the bridge pickup on a Strat. The bridge Strat pickup can be a little, with gain, it can be a little like difficult sometimes for certain amps or pedals and stuff. And the V60 LP is a real friendly with overdrive. Which isn't to say the 63 isn't, but it's just going to be a little bit more vintage Strat. So, what's your opinion on the John Sir? You mean his signature guitar? I think it looks really cool. I haven't played it. I don't know what neck shape it is. It might be the same as my guitar, actually, but I'm not 100% sure. And then he used the bridge from my guitar on it, the Wilkinson. It looks really cool to me. I like the pickguard is unique, whatever it's made out of. I think it's painted or something. I can't remember, but it's neat. Yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. Red and black. I like red and black. I love red guitars. John says, love your playing and listen to Guitar Nerd all the time. Thanks, man. I know Guitar Nerd's out of stock at used to be able to order it through CD Baby. Right now the CD version is out of stock, and I'm actually out of them. I think I might have a few more that I can send them, but I think I'm almost out. So the question becomes, is there enough demand to make more? I think there is, because I'll get back to making clinics, and at clinics people still like to buy CDs, and so I need to bring some. So because they're like a nice souvenir, I think, where you can sign them and stuff. So I got to get some more Guitar Nerd CDs done up. It's all indie style over here. I got to contact the CD place and get them made. Wilson says, "Hey Pete, hi from Glasgow. Hair is getting long. I'm working on it. It's growing." I just thought, why not? One last hurrah. Grow it out. 10 years from now, I'll say, one last hurrah again. I will have cut it short and it'll be all gray. Yeah. Greg T is up there in the top chat, and he says, I got a used PT guitar in ocean blue. Cool. In great shape and really love it. Awesome, man. Was concerned the neck might be a bit smallish, but it's great. It's not small, right? I think they need to rename it. The Even C Slim should just be the Even C Standard or something. I should call it, because it's not a small neck. It's not a thick neck, but it's just nice. It's about right, very playable. I find it very comfortable, and, that's how I ended up with it. Yeah. Sharik Mashimi. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sharik Mashimi. Hope I've got it. I'm really sorry if I'm screwing it up. Everything good with you? Energy seems maybe a little different. Just checking in on you. I'm tired today. I didn't sleep great. I ate something funny yesterday, and I was up really late, and then I'm just like, so maybe my energy is whack today, but I'm fine. I'm good. Just, the pandemic madness, like all of us. How are all you guys doing? How's everybody doing? It's so weird, here we are. It's like October. It's crazy, you know. It's just been what a year, right? For all of us. It's just so weird. I mean, I can't complain. I mean, I love coming to this room and making music and stuff, and I've made some good new friends, and I don't know, like stuff's cool, but it is still weird. It's weird not uh I mean, this is the first year I've never traveled anywhere, or, well, I can't really say that because I did 2 months in the UK at the beginning of the year, but you know what I mean. Getting into the post, March, it's just been strange. And so I think everybody just is walking around a little like, no matter how good or bad things are, it's weird. It's just a weird year. So on different days, it leaves me in kind of different moods and stuff like that, I guess. You just got to be kind of nice to yourself, I think, and do the best you can, right? Yeah, 777 Danny EP says, I don't have any pics of my first Rolling Stones concert 20 years ago. But I have all in my head. Was freezing, raining, just awesome. Yeah, I mean, that was just the thing, right? Like, you still have a good time out in the, almost made it better. Makes it more memorable, right? What if it had been a beautiful day? You might not remember it as well, but because of the struggle that you went through to get there and all that, that was, you were alive in that moment. You were cold and wet and rocking and alive, very present. It's a good feeling, So, yeah. Evan says smoke-filled venue, smuggling liquor, sneaking down for better seats. Totally can we get down to the front? Like, maybe that security guy looks pretty lax. Maybe we can get down on the floor and get to those 2 seats over there. All that. It's very exciting. And then if you did it, it was like victory. I don't know. Cool. Good memories, right? Dennis Timothy Music is up in the super duper top chat. Thanks, buddy. Is making your living as a musician as much fun as it looks from afar? It's really fun, man. If you can do it, I mean, it's not easy to get there, but if you stick it out long enough and then you work hard and you get to that point, it's so fun. Conversely, what are some of the challenges you didn't expect? The biggest challenge is being away from home, probably, like the most obvious, too, I bet. But spending a lot of time on tour and being away from family, and then realizing that people, life gets real quick when folks start passing away as they get older. And you're like, oh, like there's no way to make up for that lost time. It's not lost time. It's just how you spent your time. And there's a cost for, leaving your home. And it's a classic kind of, story, isn't it? I mean, go out and make your way and then realize that your home was pretty good, wherever you grew up, hopefully, that was my story anyway, was that, I definitely couldn't wait to leave and go on my way and do my thing. And then you, as I say, this sounds very sad and melancholy, and I don't mean it to, but it's something to think about. When you leave home and you maybe go from foreign land to, which I did, to pursue your dreams in the US or whatever as a professional musician, you don't think to yourself, okay, there's going to be a finite amount of times that I will see my parents again before they die, right? You don't think about that when you're 19 and you're going to go. You don't think and it might not be, if you get home twice a year for the next 20 years or until somebody passes away or whatever, that number will be 38 times, right? It's really sad when you think about it like that. I don't mean it to sound that way, but it is something to think about, that, you have to get, you have to visit as much as you can and things like that, because you're going to leave and then you're going to, you don't want to wait till it's too late. It's so classic and cliche, but these are this is the hardest part of what I did, is both my parents have passed away, and I miss them every day, and stuff I think about all the time, because there's no going back. So would I change anything? Yeah, I would have gone home more, I would have figured out a way to spend a bit more time, because you don't get that back. So that's the hardest part. But the payoff's huge, and I think they were proud of me, and I did my thing, and I'm still doing my thing. And it's it's not for everybody, though, it's not for everybody. Live to play guitar. Sorry if I don't mean to get, heavy, but you asked a question. I'll give you the real answer, right? You don't want me to BS you. Up there in Canada, says Live to Play Guitar. Was wondering, how high do you keep your action? Let's bring it back to guitars. How high do you bring your action on your? Do you keep your action on your guitars? Somebody was commenting on my red guitar, the one with the tortoiseshell guard, because I put a picture of it up on Instagram. They were like, "Whoa, that action's low. Do you really play with it that low?" And it's like, if I can, yeah. I basically set the action on my guitar so that it'll buzz if I hit hard, but if I lighten up, I can get it to be clean. And in order to do that, you have to have a guitar that's set up beautifully to achieve low action with that setup. And Sir did the frets on that, so of course it's perfect. But I like it as low as I can get it, is the answer, without crappy tone, without too much buzzing and all that. Because I'm a wuss. Bobby Valdez is up there in the top chat, and he says he saw Lionel Richie at the Cow Palace 84. Lights come up, the band is upside down, 15 feet off the stage, doing Dancing on the Ceiling, Timeless. That's cool. I love good concert memories, It's great. Just the specific little fun memories of this. It's awesome. Well, once again, you were very present. You weren't looking at your phone and you missed it, Jeff is somewhere in the UK, and he says, love the show, and I love my Thornbuckers in my ATT. Maybe that's Alt T. Any plans for any live online gigs? It's Jeff from Wales. I haven't thought about doing any of the streams, or it's funny. I was talking to Josh Smith about that. He's really working YouTube right now and getting his channel going and stuff, doing some great things. And he said he feels like it's like the live streaming thing, which is what he set his studio up for, isn't very popular. He's like, yeah, I learned real quick, because he got this great setup in his place now to do live streaming. He feels like it's not that interesting to people. They want to hear you talk about guitar, kind of what we're doing right now. But he's got a great playing setup and stuff. But I feel like the live stream playing thing, I think everybody's kind of maybe a little burned out on it these days. Maybe it's just me that's burned out on it, but like the thought of, because we all want to get back to seeing shows and stuff like that. So I just prefer to do my thing, which is produce a song, I think, and then put it out as a video. My little trick where I've tricked folks into, it's a demo video for Pedal. Really, it's just another song. I'm just releasing little songs every week because I like doing that. That's what I like to do. That's how I like to do it. I guess, like, write a song and bring it to fruition and mix it and stuff. And maybe it's just because I'm a control freak or something, but that's fun for me. So yeah, I guess that's my way of saying I'm not really that interested in doing the live stream thing. I feel like you do it and it's like, maybe I'd have a fair amount of people tune in. I don't know. I just don't know that it's, I don't know. It's a hell of a lot of effort. Maybe I'm just lazy. Get a lot of people in a room, social distancing, figure out how are we going to mic the drums, good sound, is it going to sound, and then you do it all, and then it's like you have 150 people online watching it or something, and then it's done. You're like, okay, I don't know. I sound like a curmudgeon. Harry is up there Henry is up there in the top chat, and he says, hey Pete, thank you for doing these shows and giving us your knowledge. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. Any thoughts on cooter casters and gold foils? I've never played one, but I love his slide playing, and I love, Ry Cooter. He's amazing. First time I wasn't really that familiar with him, to be honest. I remember way back in the 80s, of course, because I think the first time I ever heard about Ry Cooter wasn't he part of the whole Crossroads movie? And like he was maybe tutoring or something like that, guitar. He was like the resident guitar expert, helping Ralph Macchio out with his, I think Ry Cooter was a big part of the whole, that movie, right? That's what I remember first hearing about him. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but that's my memory, which sometimes fails me. So I remember him way back then. And of course, Buena Vista Social Club, God, and that was great. But that doesn't tell you much about gold foils. Okay, I tried them once in a Echo Park guitar that I did a video for. I was asked to do a video for some Echo Park guitars, and it had gold foils in it. So there's a video of me playing. I should go back and listen to it. It was like, I didn't have like some burning desire to get one or something. I'm sort of a Tele, Strat, Les Paul, humbucker and Tele single coils and Strat single coils kind of guy. I guess when it comes to pickups. I have one guitar with P90s. It's real cool. My Mac Mall. I need to actually play it more. I should bust it out and play it more. Because I've had it in the other room for a long time. What are other? I mean, I love the lipstick tubes are fun in my Dano guitars. Those are fun. Maybe it's just I know what to expect. Strat, Tele, 2 humbuckers or HSS. It's just there's enough there. There's enough range for me. If I get into like a gold foil thing, it's like a whole nother. So, I completely forgot. Somebody was asking earlier about the black Strat. With the Floyd on it, and I forgot to answer the question. I'm sorry. It's right here. This guitar is interesting. I bought it off eBay, off a guy that made it. It's got a Musicraft. I can't remember if it's Musicraft neck and KNE body. I think it might be. But this guitar it's a Frankie style heavy ash body. It's quite heavy, this guitar. You can see the ash. It's hard ash. Hard northern ash, so it's real heavy, like the original Frankenstein guitar. And he painted it to look like, I guess it's like got the wear of Blackie. I didn't realize Clapton's Blackie was this worn, but that's what he said. He said he copied the wear patterns of Blackie, but he built a Van Halen guitar basically. So it's got a Motor City second degree black belt in it, and it's got an old German Floyd Rose, like from the 80s. Block to the body. Only goes down. And no up pull on it at all. It's blocked right. And the body is kind of interesting. It's very 70s Strat in its contours. It's kind of got that slightly Gumby thing going on where it's like not a lot of, the arm contour here. You can see it's very shallow. It's not like a real Strat. And I guess that's copying the Frankenstein thing. It looks like not quite as contoured up here. It's kind of big, And what else? I don't know. It's got medium frets. They're not real big. I wish it actually had bigger frets. And it's real dirty now, the neck. But this is my Van Halen guitar. It really has a unique sound. And if you play Van Halen on it, it really through the through SL68 or different amps, it's really got that spanky just attack that that when I think of him, where you hit the front end of the Marshall and it collapses a little bit and it's bright and aggressive. And this guitar has that sound. Heavy ash and maple neck, I think, is a huge part of it. The pickup's cool too. I'm gonna put it on the ground. I'm not gonna worry about scratching it. Yeah. Good guitar, really cool guitar. I had to get it set up when I got it. It didn't play great when I first got it. The nut was too high, was the main problem. So I took it to Eric at Lush Guitar. He's a good guy. I actually took it. I won't say who I took it to first, but I took it to a luthier in LA, a music store, and just had them work on it. And when I came, they took a long time, and then I finally went back to get it. And all I was doing was get it set up. I was like, this isn't quite what I expected. And I realized the nut was quite high. And I said, what about this? And the luthier said, or, guitar repair guy, I don't even know if it was a luthier. He was like, oh, you want that lower? I like the guitar to fight me a little bit. So that, and I was like, when you get the impression whether it's at the doctor's office or the car repair person or a lawyer or a guitar repair. Yeah, I already said that, but you know what I'm saying? Different people in different trades. When you just get the impression that maybe this isn't the right person for the job. When he said, I like the guitar to fight me a little bit, I was like, yeah, I play Sir guitars. I don't like guitars to fight me. I want them perfect. So I took it to Eric after that at Lush and explained my woes, my troubles, and he dropped the nut a little bit and got it. And for those out there that feel like their guitar fights them, if you feel like the action is always high, even when the bridge is low and the guitar is buzzing a little bit when you play it, it's probably the nut's too high. And you can look at the height of the, the string above, hold it down at the 5th fret or the 3rd fret and look at how it breaks over the nut. And if there's a fair amount of gap between when you're holding it down, like I'm talking about this, if you're holding the string here or here, you want to look at the 1st fret, and it just has to clear, obviously, when you're holding here, the first fret a little bit. So now you've got a kind of a straight edge between the nut and the third fret, and it obviously it has to just clear a little bit, you know. And if it clears a lot, if there's a big gap in there, which is like you see a lot of guitars from the factory, a lot of Gibsons, man, a lot of USA Gibsons from the factory, nut is real high. And you got to get that tweaked, or the guitar will never quite play right. And if you get the nut cut just right on a guitar, I swear you can make a, inexpensive guitars play like great. It's such a big deal. Nut height, huge in the way the guitar feels under the fingers, and everything else goes out the window if the nut's wrong to me. It doesn't matter. Truss rod can be just right and adjusted perfect, and and if the nut's not right, can't get the guitar to feel good. Okay, I'm gonna move down to the bottom of the chat. We got about 428 people online. Nice to have you all here. Yeah. A good guitar doesn't fight you. It lives to serve, says Cletus. I mean, some people like to fight the guitar, I guess. I don't know. It's just never been my thing because, once again, I'm a wuss. What's my opinion on Buckethead? I recently just started listening to him, says it's Natasha. I don't really know much about Buckethead. I know a lot of people thought it was Paul Gilbert for a while. It's not really, maybe I'm missing something, but I kind of like the real songy stuff that gets, I'm into Gilmore and stuff these days. So it's like I don't like if it's just, I don't want to sell Buckethead short because I just don't know that much about it. But if it's real technical guitar stuff, that's mainly the thing. It's not really my thing. It's not really like what I'm, just for me, So, yeah. Michael says Jack White used to say he liked his vintage guitars to fight him too. That's Michael. Yeah, and you're saying, yeah, right. I believe that that's true. Jack White is a unique character. Having said everything I just said about how I don't like guitars to fight me, I really do appreciate the Jack White spirit animal. I've talked about this at length, so I don't want to bore my usual viewers with the Jack White thing, but I'm very inspired by Jack White, like almost as a, like everything I just said about the guitar having to play great and all that. There's something about Jack White where if your guitar doesn't play great and you're on stage and you need to just play the show and hopefully entertain the crowd, just forget about that crap, like your guitar not playing great and the truss rod being wrong or something, and make music because you're up there to do it. And so I try and, he's my, I really think he does feel that way about his gear. Now, obviously, he did a really interesting 180 when he started playing the EVH guitars. But I loved that because it was like, wow, didn't see that coming, which is great with artists, when he completely, he changed that and started recording digital and stuff. And because I think he mentioned in an interview that Chris Rock said to him, you're so analog and purist and all about, it's got to be done this way. I have to do it this way. And Chris Rock said to him, dude, nobody cares. Nobody cares how it's recorded. They're just listening to the song. And he was like, he said he had an epiphany, sort of like, oh my God, is that true? Like if you just get a good result, it doesn't matter how you get there, And he sort of did his 180 with, and all of a sudden he's got his blue EVH guitar with like Floyd Rose on it and stuff. It's like, didn't see that coming, but I like that. Bold, make a move, try something different. Yeah. Han 36 Solo says nearly every guitar I see in person has the nut cut too high. It kills the feel. I agree. There's so many that aren't quite right. Now, you'll never play a Sir that's like that, which is why I'm spoiled, they all come from the factory just right. I just yesterday had my factory nut replaced with Tusk on my 2012 Les Paul Studio and switched from 11 to 9. Plays like a dream. Sounds great. That's cool. That's Rich up there in the super chat. Yeah, man, the nut makes such a big difference. It really is, though, the one thing that, and it's really not an easy thing to do, I don't think. Like, it can make or break tuning and feel and all kinds of things. It's a stupid little thing that, like, it's just got to be just right. And so you got to find a guitar repair person, a luthier that really knows what they're doing with nuts. Get them right. OxN says, I think you're living proof that gear is inspiring. Working with nature is something within its limitations on a timeline. Very pro. Thanks, man. You should release your demo tunes. Yeah, I've thought about doing that via, Patreon. I like the thing Joe Satriani did recently where I'm just going to eat some of this. Sorry. Where he released some of his records as instrumentals. It's a great idea. But I've thought about doing that with the demo tracks kind of via Patreon. So that I can offer people something that, they're just sitting there. I think if I took some of them, especially if they're a good jam thing that's fun to play over, and I extended them out to 3 minutes at least, or 5 minutes, so that you can jam for a while on them, because most of them are a minute 30. But I can simply copy paste, and make them fun jam tracks. So I've thought about doing that too. Okay. What else we got here? I bet that protein bar has yogurt in it, says SD Design. I don't think so. These ones are just, I like these Go Macro bars. I buy these high protein, gluten-free, organic, vegan, no yogurt. Delicious. They're tasty. Let's see. Ben Coombs just posted my Sweetwater affiliate link. Thanks, buddy. I'll put it up on the screen. There it is. Yeah, I have a Sweetwater affiliate account now, which helps, make ends meet. I like Sweetwater. I buy all kinds of stuff from them. So they're really nice to me, actually. There's nothing critical to say about Sweetwater. They're kind of awesome. But anyway, I got, hooked up with them recently. I have an affiliate account, which basically means if you click my affiliate link, I get a little commission. That's true. If you buy anything from it, strings or anything. So it helps support my channel and what I do and all that. So thanks, Ben, for mentioning that. It's down in the video description below as well. Craig R says he just bought a used, here, let's put this up on the screen. Bought a used Badger 35 head and new Badger cabinet. But Badger 35 is great amp. Got a Coco Boost too. I'm loving the tone and getting close to the early Van Halen tone. The Coco works really well with the Badger. I remember hearing a Coco Boost in front of, I don't know if it was an 18 or 30, but I remember saying to John, you should just build this into the amp. Like, this should be the boost in the front end. And eventually, actually, they did build a boost in the front end, which is not the Coco, but it's the same boost, I think, that was in my amp, or similar anyway. MOSFET boost built into the front end of a Badger. I mean, it's similar because it's kind of a high voltage solid state boost built into the front end that just kicks the input tube and drives it. But yeah, Coco and a Badger can be a really cool sound. Sounds like it's built into the amp, right? You know what I mean? You've got one. So, 35 is a great amp. Basically a double power 18. Yeah. All right. I'm going to take a look. Some of the other comments here. See what else. Live to Play Guitar says, I play a lot of Satch. I wonder how low his action is on his guitars. I bet it's pretty damn low. Having said that, there's that great video of him picking up a kid's guitar, kind of a beginner guitar, and playing Satch Boogie on, I think it's Satch Boogie, right? On, or maybe it was Surfing with the Alien or something. I can't remember, but on YouTube, you can find that video of him doing that. So he, I think was great. Like, it's in the hands. It's not the guitar, but, isn't Jack's music overproduced, says Jay Ulysses. Well, underproduced, some would say. I mean, it's very raw, a lot of it, but then there's different, there's different bands and stuff, raconteurs, and so I guess you'd have to say which era of, it's been around 20 years now or something, hasn't he? And kind of goes through different phases. So somebody saying Shiny Beast sings fuzz tones he uses guitar might not matter much. Kind of true. His fuzz, for instance, the Bumblebee really takes over the sound, and as long as it's got an input, it's going to kind of do its thing. Yeah. But, he doesn't always play with the fuzz on. So, I like John Sear's comment on first fret clearance. You can have almost nothing as long as there's something. That's right. I wonder if when he's cutting a nut, if that's how he looks, he probably just keeps checking cutting the slots and then checking the clearance, making sure there's a little bit. There's nothing worse than when the nut is a little too low. And on some of this is no fault of theirs, but on some of my Suhrs, it gets too low on the E and the D and the A over time because the nuts will wear a little. So if you take a guitar on the road and you play them for a year or two, I'll find like it's perfect for a year or something. And then after, because I like them so low, so I push them to cut them lower than they might normally. And then the guitar ends up having a slightly buzzy E or slightly buzzy A, and you need to you can fill it with a little bit of like super glue. There's different stuff you can do in the nut to kind of, but then you're sort of, band-aiding the thing, and you need to maybe get a new nut done. But the trade-off is great playability for a year or two. It's just that nuts, over time they wear like anything, so. Yeah. What else we got here? David says he just had the exact same problem with the nut on his Strat. Took it to a guy who didn't cut it low enough, and the guitar was never right. Took it to someone else, and now it's perfect. Yeah, I had my black Les Paul custom. I had a nut on there for years that a guy cut. There was a headstock repair done on that guitar, and I guess that's when the nut was done on it, and it never quite stayed in tune. It was a bear to keep in tune. It was always difficult. And finally, I had it in Japan. I was getting tired of the guitar. I like the way the guitar sound, but what a bear to keep in tune. I was tuning 2 times every song, so I took it to Huchi's in Shibuya in Tokyo, if anybody's out there in Japan, and that luthier there cut a new nut for it, and it transformed it. It just sounded great, looked great, felt great, and stayed in tune. It was awesome after that. Brian Silverman up there in the super duper chat area sent me a super sticker. Thanks, buddy. You guys are too kind. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. I dig the stuff that Richie Kotzen does with Winery Dogs. I met him through Stevie Salas a few years back, and that made me realize I never listened to anything from him. He's great, man. I was listening to Richie back in the day. I know him now a little bit, but it's funny, man. There used to be a address on the back of his records, his early Shrapnel, like his first record that came out in like 87 or 88 or something when he was like 18. And this is more of that pre-internet old world stuff. I wrote him a letter and he wrote me back. So I was about a year younger than him, I think. And I wrote him a letter and then he wrote me back. He actually corresponded with me. And I thought that was so cool, and so that he would do that meant a lot to me, handwritten old school letter in the mail. And then he, fan mail. On the back of the record, it said for correspondence, and it had this P.O. box in Pennsylvania. So I wrote him a letter, and hey, man, I love your guitar playing, whatever I said, and then he wrote me back. And I think we had sent a couple letters back and forth. And then I went to see him play in L.A. when I moved there to go to GIT. Pre-Viper Room, that club was called The Central on Sunset Boulevard. And I remember seeing Richie play The Central. It was the only time I was there before it shut down and became the Viper Room, renovated after Johnny Depp bought it and all that. Yeah. And I probably went up to Richie and awkwardly said, hey, man, I'm that guy who writes to you from Canada. And he was probably like, oh, cool. Have a good night. No, he was nice. He's always been nice. He's a cool guy. He's actually really funny. He's got a great sense of humor. And what a great career. He's had a long, at least 30 year more, right? 30 plus years. Brisley says Jack White was recently seen playing EVHs in Music Man St. Vincent's. That makes sense to me, the St. Vincent guitar for sure. It looks like he gave up on fighting. Yeah, probably got used to what the hell was I battling all these guitars for all these years, right? St. Vincent's a cool guitar. I really like her records and her guitar playing. That's really cool stuff to me. I love her whole new wave kind of, I don't know, like reminds me of Talking Heads or something. And just her, I don't know, she's just cool. She's awesome. Great guitar player, but you know, way more than that. Songwriter, singer, the whole thing, the whole package. Yeah. What else we got here? This is interesting. Wyatt Willis says Michael Thompson had some great anecdotes in your Tim and Pete show about how it helps him to have the guitar fight him. Well, so that was really interesting, going to his studio and have him hand me that guitar. We each took a solo on that track. If you haven't seen it, the Tim and Pete video with Michael in his studio. And when he handed me the guitar, it was like something out of a bad dream where like, oh, I'm in Michael Thompson, in the dream, you're in Michael Thompson's studio and Tim Pierce is sitting there, just happens to be there. And they're going, play a solo. And they hand you this guitar and it's like a guitar you've never seen before. And then you look down at the neck and the action's this high. And you're like, oh, I'm in hell, you know, but it didn't feel like hell. It was actually really interesting because I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then I realized when the action's that high and the guitar is fighting you that much, you kind of can only play it a certain way, which is very deliberate and slower. And that's what he likes about it is he's like, well, every note means more, you know, you don't play so fast. You don't just, you know, it's a little more literal, like you're playing. And so I learned, as you know, the great thing about working with Tim and going to meet these folks and Tim himself and everything is I'd learned so much stuff, of course, quickly, you know, and I learned so much that day about that. Like, oh, there is something, and what I realized is I liked it in a way. So it was the polar opposite of the nut being a little too high, which is like this guitar just it's uncomfortable. I don't want to play this guitar. You know, I get whiny. It's too hard to play. No, it's the polar opposite of that, where it's like, oh, there's no. It's a little bit like also like playing Josh Smith's guitar with 13s on it. It surprised me in a way. It's like I can play this. It just changes the way I play, and it's a different experience. You know, kind of like playing a nylon string. You know, you used to play an electric. Now you get this guitar with a flat fingerboard. You can't bend the strings. You're going to play different stuff. And it's very much like that, where it's just like, okay, I'm not going to, or being handed a guitar in a completely alternate tuning. Oh, I can make music on this. It's just going to be different than what I normally do. Getting a guitar that's almost right, but just kind of a little uncomfortable, that drives me crazy. You know, does that make sense? Like a little more like, you know, if it's totally difficult and then it's like, okay, we'll make this work. You know, I hope that makes sense. I don't know. That's what I learned from Michael. And the other great thing I took away from that day, well, a few things actually, his use of an EBow with a vibrato pedal in momentary mode. That's another for those that haven't tried it. It's so cool. So he's got a Boss VB2, and you know you can use it in momentary mode, so it just starts vibratoing when you hold it down. So he'll play EBow. Was it EBow and slide? I think that he was doing, but maybe even just EBow in general, where you can go up to a note and then hit the vibrato as you know, and you can get this really organic thing, and slide really cool with the vibrato and EBow. I don't know if it was slide or if that's my memory of it, but I might be wrong, but there's nothing wrong with trying that for sure. EBow with the slide and then the vibrato pedal to get like some organic kind of just, that was a really neat thing. Also that he uses an H3000 for modulated delay, which I had never heard of anybody else doing really. It was always the pitch thing with H3000, but he uses it for modulated delay. You know, pitch, micro pitch. That's what a lot of people use it for, the Van Halen thing or whatever. 9 cents on one, -9 on the other side. And you know what I'm talking about? Detune. He uses delay and modulates it with the H3000. It's a great sound. So I took that away. And then the last thing I learned that day that I really remember having a big impact on me was he likes to, when he's playing a solo, come up with a great first line or phrase as a branching off point. And then beyond that, he just improvises. And he's like, as long as I have a good, if I start with a great line, great phrase, so he works something out to some degree. So he's got a great intro, and then go from there. And I really liked that approach. Because if you start, if you leave it open to chance, you might play something great, but you might not. If you figure out a cool little, even it could be 3 notes, some little thing to just start and as a branching off point. I really liked that. Travis Fritz says, we're playing flat wound. Go for that Big Ben. Not. Yeah, you're going to play different. You're going to make different music, So it's the difference between having something that's almost comfortable, but just sort of sucks a little bit, and then just doing something completely different, like having a really difficult a nylon string or flat wounds, really heavy strings, or a clean tone when you're used to playing through distortion. You're going to make different music, and that's more comfortable to me than a guitar that's just sort of slightly crappy with the setup. Glenn's up there in the super chat too. Thanks, Travis and Glenn. I appreciate it, guys. Salvador asked a question, something about gain tones, but I'm only seeing the second part of the question here. I have to see if I can find the first part. Yeah. Teammate says, I like songs too. Yeah, I love good songs. Got to be good songs for me. Natasha says, it's stunt guitar. True. We were talking about Buckethead, right? I don't know. I don't want to sell him short. He might have some really beautiful stuff that I just don't know about. But for everything I've seen is kind of more stunt guitar, shreddery stuff, So, which is great, but it's just not always what I gravitate towards for listening. That's all. It's just a thing, Thoughts on Takai Love Rocks for a value Les Paul is Tony Kennedy's question. Great question. They're not all created equal, and there's nitro ones, and there's ones that are poly, and there's ones from the late 70s, early 80s, all the way through to the present. So long story short, Takai makes some great guitars, and you see a lot of them in Japan, but it almost makes it more confusing because once you realize that there's so many different models, best to probably, I think there's a forum for them, best to do your research and figure out, because I'm no expert on it, but the preferred eras and the, when you're getting one, just know that, some of them are made in Korea, some of them are made in Japan, different factories, different specs. And you want to do your research and figure out, if you just see a Takai on eBay, it doesn't mean it's a super desirable one or even necessarily maybe that great. I think they make pretty good guitars for sure. Yeah, definitely you see the ones that are made now over there in Japan and look at some of them and play them and stuff. You realize these are every bit as good as, Gibson custom shop guitars and stuff. They've got great, the high end Takais are the ones they're making now are pretty brilliant. Nitro, they're expensive too. They're priced like it, They make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 guitars. Favorite non-Gibson Les Paul, my Yaren. It's gotta be. Yeah, I mean, I played a couple Maxes that blew me away. Great deal. Talking about Japanese guitars in particular, the Hoochie's folks that I mentioned, they did the nut on my Les Paul. Their line of guitars is called Crews, Crews, and they make some really, really great guitars in the $1,200 kind of like Japanese made, that are sort of equivalent to like, say, Gibson USA, but really, really nice. Like I remember playing a Pelham Blue Crews SG that was just really great. And, you're not going to mistake them for Gibson or anything. I don't think they're taking a ton of business away from Gibson or anything like that. They say Crews on the headstock and stuff, but some really nice guitars for the dough. If you're looking for a nice Les Paul style guitar that, I don't know how easy they'd be to get them over here and stuff like that from there, but I really enjoyed them. Loot89 is up there in the super chat, and he says, happy Sunday. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Braxall says, Pete Thorn, you know that breakdown part with killer bass line for Manic Depression? I don't know it, but I know what you mean. I do. I love Manic Depression. What a great song. Love it. Yeah. What multi-effects are on the floor? Are you asking about in my studio? Or just like what multi-effects units are floor-based units? An Axe Effects or a Helix can be used for multi-effects for sure on the floor. Or a Helix FX, HX effects Other ones, an H9 can do multi-effects in some of the modes. You can get delay and mod and reverb. Some other ones, Boss, obviously GT1000. Excuse me, the head rush. Those are the ones that come to mind. If you guys watch my video this week for the cabinet, the Ambicab, that's still sitting right there. I did a video for that this week. It's a wet dry kind of situation, and I used the FM3, which is also sitting right over there on the floor, right there. I used it for all the effect sounds in the video. And the neat thing about an FM3 as a device like that, as a post-effect device, is you can do parallel paths with it. Yeah, you can do 4 cable and all that, but you don't even necessarily need to. I guess you can make it your all thing with overdrives and all that, but without considering that, you can also just use it for, like, this is the way Steve Vai uses an XFX, actually, in the post, like in the, I think he uses effects loops of amps, not wet dry, but you know, it's a great effects unit as a post thing, like for, you know, pitch or reverb or delay or any of that kind of stuff, rotary sounds. You can use it either in the effects loop of an amp or in a wet dry setup. And it's got this great way that you can route stuff inside it, parallel or series or whatever you want. So you can do it so easy because of the built-in routing and kind of the built-in mixer and stuff like that. It doesn't have analog dry through and all that. So that's the only thing. I wish it did. Wouldn't that be great if XFX could give you an analog dry path? That'd be pretty neat. Because then I should mention that to them. If there'd be a way to do that, like, wow, then you wouldn't need a mixer or anything, and you could use it in the effects loop, like parallel style. It'd be really cool. Anyways, there's other ways to do that, but you need more gear. Any thoughts about stainless steel frets? Brisley. I love them they're in my signature guitar. I always say I love them in, you know, Strat style, super stratty kind of guitars. Great. The only guitars I don't like them in are vintage, or Les Pauls. They sound, I did a Les Paul once with stainless steel frets and it felt great, but I didn't really love the little ping I heard on the note after I did it, and whether or not it even came through the amp, I don't even think it did. It was just like I'd hear it acoustically and it bothered me. It's like it changed the nature of the guitar a little bit in a way that I was just like, oh, I think on a Gibson guitar that's supposed to feel like a vintage, you know, thing, 'cause it was an R7. I think nickel, you know. So anything vintage I've got nickel. Modern guitars, no problem using stainless steel. That's my thoughts. Yeah. Who's up there? Buzz Wilson up there in the top chat. Curious if you're familiar with Morgan SW22. I've heard they don't break up much even when dimed. Looking for a lightweight grab and pedal platform. I don't know that amp that well. Lightweight, like, does it need to be loud enough for a gig? I don't know the Morgans that well. I heard them at Josh Smith's studio, you know, the ones he uses. I know he makes Voxy ones and Fendery ones, but Josh would be the guy really to ask. I think on his YouTube and maybe forum, hit him up and ask him what he thinks about that. Lightweight grab and pedal platform, you know, it depends on the price range you're looking at. Morgan could be great. A Bella is really terrific for that. It's not super light, but they're not really that heavy. It's a 50-watt combo. I don't find them that heavy. You could put a Neo speaker in it and make it even lighter. But it's got enough volume for just about any situation, enough clean headroom. And what else? You know, on a budget, anything from I really like the 59 Bassman as a pedal amp. I know it's 4 speakers and it's heavier, but it's a great sounding amp for pedals. You can do all kinds of stuff with a 59. I gravitate towards Marshall circuits, so it's proto JDM 45 style amp, isn't it? You know, so 59 LTD or, you know, any of those Fender 59 Bassman reissues, great sounding amps for pedals. Or Princeton, if you want something small. I like the little Princeton reverb I have here quite a bit. Or Deluxe reverb, a little different, but you could always get the 68 custom one with no bright cap on it. You know what I mean? The silver face one they reissued, and it you know, it's a little more friendly with pedals than the blackface one, which has got the bright cap and be a little spiky with certain pedals. Easy to tweak, easy mod that an amp tech could do. Anyway, lots of options, you know. Let's see here. Hyperballistic Drifter God says, came here from Friedman. How much stage volume is too much? How much is enough to really get feedback between axe and amp? How much stage volume is too much? How much is enough to really get the feedback between axe and amp? It depends on the amp and the guitar and so many different factors. It's like I was saying, like if there's mid-range in the sound, you know, like that amp, the Ombre, that thing feeds back like crazy, and it's not even very gainy in a great way. You know, the feedback, the guitar interaction, is because there's mids in the sound. There's more mids in those amps, like a Tweed amp or a, you know, a Blackface Fender could be quite loud and it won't feed back necessarily. When I think about a super reverb, you know, you can get it up pretty damn loud and stuff, and it might not feed back because a lot of the mids are scooped out of the circuit. It's a great sound, but it's just a different sound. Whereas that amp will start feeding back real early on with more mids in the circuit, because the mids is just a frequency thing, right? A feedback, you can watch it if you plot it out, you can see when a frequency takes off and starts to feed back, right? It's just about the nature of there being more frequencies in that kind of crucial mid-range zone where a guitar lives and where the speakers are very reactive and active. You know, one of those little peaks happens and then the pickup grabs it. It's that magical thing where it just takes off. So it's really dependent on the guitar, the amplifier. It's dependent on many things besides volume. And I would say it's frequencies, ample mids, more mids in the circuit, the less volume required to get feedback. Never really thought about it, but that's kind of how it works, you know. Hopefully that helps. Can you really crank the amps at your studio location? Yes, I can crank them. I got a cab in the other room, mic'd. There's 2 walls between me and where the cabinet is. So, and thick walls, like, you know, I can hear it just rumbling low end through the wall when it's 100 watts timed, you know. Other folks in this building, they might feel differently. So I tend to actually use the power station no matter. Number one, I've got an old cabinet in there with greenback, so it's only a 100-watt cabinet. I don't want to blow up the cabinet. So if I'm getting into serious volume, like anything 50 plus watts, and getting it up where it's making its full power, I will tend to use the power station, or even less, maybe 30 watts. Like I'll tend to use the power station, dial it back at least a few dB, you know. Power stations that attenuate, it's a load reamp, right, from Hiwatt. And I got the new one, the new 2-channel version. I love it. It's great. Really useful piece of gear. Hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for these highly educated live streams, Pete. I'm learning so much, says Brisley. Thanks, man. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Steven says that he's shocked how good the DSL-40 Marshall is for pedals. Yeah, I mean, whatever works, you know. Classic channel. I mean, it can't be. It's probably just, you know, pretty straight up clean Marshall platform. Probably sounds really good, right? I liked the DSL-40 when they first came out back in the late 90s. I remember them. I know they got hot and folks had some issues with them, but I thought it sounded really cool because I had a DSL-50 then, the head. And so I thought many times about getting one of the combos just as a grab and go kind of thing back then. I don't know how close the current version of the amp is, but it was decent. Phil's up there in the super chat. He says, you just got an American Professional Tele and Eventide H9 Max. I believe you use 1 or 2 H9s. Do you also use a reverb delay pedal, or do you use the H9 for most effects? It's a great question. I mainly use 1 H9 for pitch shifting. Sometimes some delays, I like the vintage delay in there a lot. But so one kind of does that, and then the other one is really my reverb. So that's just how I kind of designate them on my board. But that said, I have used them for other things, Leslie. Yeah. And then I have a separate delay. I have a Boss DD500. So one is kind of pitch, Leslie, stuff like that, reverb for the other H9, and then my DD500 is my main delay. Occasionally, though, I've found like I want to use the H9 for a certain delay character. Could I do it in the DD500? Yes, probably. I could probably get in there and tweak it and make it sound almost identical. But it's just like I know that vintage delay algorithm in the H9, vintage digital, I think it's called. And it's supposed to be kind of like a, probably like a PCM 42 or something. It just has a really nice character to it. Incidentally, in the line 6 in the Helix, that's the one I use too, the vintage digital. I use those a lot. It's supposed to be like a 16-bit digital delay sort of thing. And they've got a little more character than just a straight up standard delay. That's the perfect repeats. They have a little something, a little je ne sais quoi to the sound that I like. Yes. I'm always, even on the digital delays, I'm trimming low end out and trimming a little bit of top end off, and then a little modulation. You just make it kind of vibey. Good stuff. I like the sound actually I did this week on the wet dry wet thing with the Comet cab that's back there. I did a sound where I added Leslie to the delay repeats only, so rotary cab to the delay repeats, and I really like that sound with a fast Leslie modulation on the delay repeats. That was fun. You can listen to it if you so desire. I like wacky delay repeats, where not the crazy filtered stuff that sometimes, line 6 occasion do, the where the delay's like going crazy. Like I don't find use for that that much. But when the delay modulates or disintegrates in a cool way, that's got a character to it, I like that a lot. So Burst of Tone says, shout out to Dry Bell. The engine is probably one of the best pedals of the year. What a great pedal. I agree. It's a plexi style ampy drive with a treble booster in front. Really, really good sound. Like great Marshall in a box with the treble booster. So you can get everywhere from, Judas Priest to, Richie Blackmore to, I don't know, anything Marshall-y, classic rock. What a great pedal. Thin Lizzy, if you need those tones. This is cool. Great Marshall in the box. Agreed. Rami says, thoughts on plucking? I'm okay with it, but I had one guitar done back when the Plek first came out. It worked. It was cool. It was on a problem neck that had a twist in it, and so it kind of dressed into the frets, the twist, fixing the twist, But every time I looked down the neck, it still bothered me because I could see the twist, but yet the guitar played good. It was kind of weird. It's great for things like that. But I think a lot of, maybe it's just guitar techs and luthiers and stuff. A lot of them sort of have a ho-hum opinion about it. I still prefer a fret dress. And yeah, I think I still prefer like somebody doing it with their hands. I do. It was all the rage for a while, and then I feel like sort of, I don't know to say it fell out of favor, but it's I like the hands-on approach with frets. I guess that's all. Just a talented, there's nothing like getting great fret job back from a really talented builder or luthier or repair person. Yeah. Let's see here. Arthur's saying he likes Nags guitars. Joe Nags is the PRS custom builder for many years. I have one of his Steve Stevens models, and I do like that guitar very much, and I still use it on when I want a hot guitar it's got hot pickups in it and stuff, and it really cranks like kind of a hot rod guitar. It's like it's my hot rod Les Paul is what it is. When I play some heavy stuff and I want lots of mids in the sound and stuff, I'll play it. It's great, and it looks badass. What do I think is the best API equalizer for electric guitar? Any thoughts about the 500 series? I use the 560 and the 550A or the 550B all the time, plugins. The 560 is the graphic, and it can be really nice for just carving, obviously, like as you would with a graphic, I used it yesterday on some stuff. The 560A is like if you just need a little bit of like you got a guitar tone, basically sounds great. I just wish it had a bit more cut, a bit more balls or something. I'll grab a 550A and just find the right band, usually boost up 5K, 2 dB or something, and then maybe grab mid-range or something, hit the low cut so that it's not woofy. Then it'll just make the guitar speak all of a sudden. So the 560 is more for carving, and the 550A is more for just you need a little EQ vibe, brighten up your track, because it's much more of a broad broad strokes, broad brush strokes. So it just depends what you want to do. It's cool to have both. I use both in the same mixes many times. Bulldozer Guitar up there in the super chat. Thank you guys so much for being so supportive. Appreciate it. He says, Eruption aside, what's your favorite instrumental guitar tune? Yeah, this is funny. Racer X technical difficulties. I was just listening to it yesterday. That's really weird. You say that because and then that led to I was talking earlier in the show about how I was watching the old Intense Rock video yesterday and stuff like that. Technical difficulties, it's a great exercise, really, isn't it? Too. But my favorite guitar instrumental tune. See, if you had to ask me my favorite, I'm going to veer much more towards Because We've Ended as Lovers or things like that. The whole intro of Shine On Your Crazy Diamond. Consider that a song in and of itself. No, that's the stuff I really like I'm a big Gilmore. I love Racer X and I love all that stuff, and I love the shreddy stuff. I really do. How about Black Star by Yngwie? That was a good one. Was that what it was called? Black Star? That was it, right? That was the name of it. That was a good one. Other guitar instrumental tunes that are great. I don't know. I was just thinking about Jeff Beck, really. His version of Over the Rainbow. How about that? Anybody hear him do that? It'll blow you away if you ever see him do that live. Yeah. Black Star. That's right. Check out the API Transformer GT guitar pedal. That's a cool pedal. I did a demo of it many years ago. It's like a DI with simple compressor and EQ built in, right? Yeah, interesting pedal. Here's a question. I have Friedman JJ Jr. pushing 212 Black Star, and wasn't what it thought on vintage 30s or greenback G12H30 replacing speakers in 212. Not exactly sure what the issue is, but I would say that with that amp, I would probably veer towards a greenback and V30 mix or something in a 212, which is like what is in that cab right there, which I kind of stole from Dave Friedman, but not really. To be honest, the first time I ever heard a G12H30 and greenback mix was my friend Al back in the 80s. So I always knew I liked the heavy magnet and smaller magnet speakers blended because you could get kind of both sounds. So he was the first guy I ever saw do it. But I know Dave had pretty good success doing V30 and greenback mix in his Friedman cabs. I then wanted to try something for the new PT15 cab, which is that one. If you guys haven't seen these cabs, I have it right here. This is I got it taped off here in mic positions and stuff. But this is a greenback and this is a V30 in this cab like that, and it's basically really similar to the dimensions and size of those Marshall cabs they came out with for the 2061X many years ago. But it's a nice little 212. It's not too heavy. It's made of, it's birch and all that, I think. So it's like, it's not incredibly light, but it's a nice alternative to it's a big sounding 212. Nice alternative to a 412. It's much easier to carry and stuff. And so in that, we use the greenback there and then the V30 down in the bottom. And that's a great blend. So give that a try with the JJ. I think that's what he uses. Jerry. I think he uses the Friedman cabs with the blend. Rick Lewis says, love your Sunday live show. Thanks, man. One of my part of my favorite Sunday routines. Thank you. Me too. Every Sunday. My routine. Listening today through my new Bear DT 1990 Pro headphones. These things rock for mastering and reference listening. I think I have a pair of those. I've got a bunch of headphones here in my headphone drawer, and I think these are that exact model. Oh, no, 1770 Pros. You got fancier ones than me, I think. These sound great, though. Really nice sounding from the Bayer folks. Of course, they make the fantastic M160 microphone, which I'm a big fan of. Very natural sounding microphone. Where is that mic? Oh, I put it back. I've got it down there. It's miking right now. It's currently in use. It's on my Princeton Reverb. Great sounding mic. If you want a natural sound, you want the amp to sound like the amp sounds in the room. Show show you the way that I've got it set here. Don't mind my messy cable mess down there. There's an Ethernet cable and all kinds of crap. But that's the way that it's set up down there on my Princeton. Just like a foot in front, kind of pointing right at the center of the speaker. And it sounds just great. It's just a very, very natural sounding microphone. They're the Hendrix mic, the M160. Great mic all on its own, or you can blend it with 57s and stuff. Headphones. Yeah, the main headphones I use are these guys. These like CB1s or something they're called, right? The SA CB1 SM. These are these headphones. If anybody wants a great set of headphones for inexpensive, they're about $60, I think. And they asked me if I wanted to check out a pair, and they sent them to me. And I got them and was blown away at how good they sound. And then you read the reviews of these things online, and everybody's like, these don't have any right to sound nearly as good as they do for what they're charging for them. And I totally agree. They sound great. They're really, really balanced sounding. So I've switched from my old Sony, the 7506s, Sony's, which are kind of bright. They're very bright sounding headphone, but I got used to them. They're kind of the NS10 of headphones, you know, with that no low end and then quite hyped in the top end, but I just got used to them. But these are much more, I've gotten used to these now. They're much more balanced. They've got fuller low end and they're a little more chilled in the top, and they're balanced, and I like them a lot. So CB1s, these are called. I have no idea who makes them. SACB1-SM. SA. I can't remember. I wish they had the logo a little more prominently on them, so I could, because people are like, what are those new headphones you've got? And I can never remember the name of the company. But if you look for CB1 headphones, you'll find them, I'm sure. Google. Is the Fujigen factory still putting out high quality guitars? I think so. They're, as far as I know, they're very busy. You know, they're a contract manufacturer for a lot of. I mean, I think. Does Fujigen make for Fender Japan? I don't know. Maybe not. But they make guitars for a lot of people. I know that, as well as their own Fujigen guitars. And they've been at it for a long time. One of the most fun things about Japan is all the different guitars over there when you go in the guitar stores that you can't see anywhere else, and the Japanese guitars that you know, they'll make. You know, you'll see like ESP models or something for guitarists from Japanese bands that I remember, like in particular, the Strat with two P90s, you know, stuff like that you don't see over here. And like, that's cool. Like, I'd like to have a Strat with two P90s. It's fun. Jeff says that he loves that I have a headphones drawer. It's not all headphones. It's kind of like extra stuff. In this drawer is headphones, TRS cables, AB boxes, hum eliminators from EbTech. It's a lot of stuff like this. Anybody ever see one of these? This is a very useful device. I use one of these in my studio. There's one under my desk. This is an RJM MIDI AB box. So with this on a pedal board, if you've never seen one of these, it's a why not. You can send this MIDI, and then it's got an input and two outputs, and it's got a TRS switch to switch from A to B, or you can switch via MIDI. It's got a great buffer in it, and it's got a phase flip, phase invert, and an isolation transformer. Okay, so you can turn the buffer on and off, phase flip, and ISO transformer all right here. Select A or B, right, you can store. And basically, yeah, A, B, or both. So you got two amps, a Marshall and a Fender or whatever, and you want to A-B them. You don't want any ground buzz. You need a good buffer maybe at the end of your pedal board chain. That's where I used to run one of these. And you know, if you got a switcher, then you can switch between two, you know, your A and B. Anyways, I use one of these under my desk now. I don't use it MIDI, but I've got it mounted right under my desk, and I plug into it. It's my input buffer. And then one side is going to my modelers, my Axe-Fx and Helix and stuff. I've just got a cable I can switch between them. It's over on this side of the desk. The other side comes over to the other side of my desk to a little patch bay where then I can patch in pedals and stuff. And then the output of that goes up there to the amp switcher. So I've got the A feeding the amps and the B feeding the modelers is, I think, what it is. And it's great because I can just turn on either or both, and it's buffered and completely quiet, silent. But it's really made for pedal boards or rigs. Great little unit from RJM. I think they still make it. Killer little MIDI AB. Todd Roy says, Pete loves and uses roasted necks. I wonder if Night Mission asks a question about it. A roasted neck is great. Oh, there you are. Do you have thoughts on the roasted necks? They're terrific. The main thing you're going to find with a roasted neck is, well, they look great. Stability, man. Really, the stability seems improved. Certainly on, I know this, I mean, Sir won't do figured like flame or bird's eye necks unless they're roasted. And the reason is because of the stability. So right there, that tells you what. The hair still driving me crazy right there. It's getting better as it grows, but sorry. I digress. But yeah, heavily, you know, we're talking about diseased wood really with like bird's eye and stuff. And it can create instability. As a matter of fact, I mentioned earlier I had a guitar plect that had a twisted neck. It was bird's eye. It was a Strat with and the turn off the neck got a twist in it. You know, they just go all over the place. So the roasting though, just stable as hell. Like my super bird's eyed out red Sir HSS Strat type, that neck is solid as hell, man. I've done like 3 truss rod adjustments on it since I got it through, you know, all the weather and stuff in the UK that I used it, and it barely ever needs to be adjusted. It's just rock solid. So I'm really a fan of roasted necks. It seems to help stability a lot. Tonally, I don't know if it maybe a little drier and rings more. I don't know, but that's not what I've noticed. I noticed mainly the stability thing. Do you need a buffer when using a Kemper or Helix? Not really. It's buffered going in. It's completely digital, so you're getting you're getting buffered on the input. You don't need anything unless you're running a bunch of pedals in front or something. Just like you would with an amp, you might need to buffer so that you don't lose too much signal before you get to the Helix or the Kemper. But no. Long story short, no. Short story long, maybe. Jason Zebra, he's somewhere in the UK, and he's up there in the top chat, and he's just being a cool guy and showing his appreciation. I thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Todd Roy says, didn't mean to jump in there, just wanted to help. I sure he appreciated it, Todd, and I don't think I think that you're a good man. Yeah, I miss questions like crazy, so help me out, please, because I'm sure there's people ask things, and if you can answer for me, by all means, do it. New song, Roasted, says L. Scott Music. Lauren, what's up, bud? Chris James says he likes roasted potatoes. I like roasted potatoes. I like lots of different roasted stuff. My ongoing non-metal addiction is Duran Duran, says Arthur. I like Duran Duran, like that 90s phase when they did, what was that song? I won't cry for yesterday. There's an ordinary world. I like that song. That was a good song. They did that song and then they just kind of didn't do another big hit after that, did they? Maybe they did. That was the one I remember, though. I always that was like my favorite Duran Duran song because the reflex and all that, not into that really. I'd turn that off. But just being honest, wasn't a huge fan. But Ordinary World, I like that song. That was a nice track. G-Man Music says the Comet Ambicab demo was great. Looks like a great way to go wet, dry, wet. What was your pitch shift settings in that video? I think just -8 and +8 on either side and panned. I was at 9 and then I went to 8. Yeah. If you go down as low as like 5, it starts to be like, I don't hear it that much. But yeah, just to try a -8 and +8 panned, and you'll get that kind of EVH balance sort of thing going pretty quick. Or if you play clean, it just sounds like a still chorus kind of. It's a nice, it just gets wide. And it's a little, it's a moment in time. Maybe slightly dated, some people might argue, but I like that sound for some things. Best JCM 800 style amp for under $1,000, or should I just get the real deal? God, you might find a real one somewhere for under, maybe for 900 or something. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. But okay, JCM 800 bass amps, real cheap. a PVVTM. Weren't those, the ones you could mod with the little switches? They were basically based on, they were like Jose mod amps almost with the mods. If you find the right setting of the switches, it could sound really cool. They're heavy as hell, big old transformers, but I think they were kind of largely based on JCM 800 style amps. If you find like a VTM 60 or whatever, they're probably $300. Laney, those AOR Laneys with a little maintenance and making sure that they were, you know what I'm talking about, the 80s ones, like Pro AOR Pro Tube or something they called them. I always heard they were JCM 800 derived basically, and they could sound really good. An amp like that, like either the PV or the Laney, somebody like Friedman looking at it and just cleaning it up and tweaking a little here and there, probably be a great amp for like under $500, I would think. I'm not a huge JCM 800 guy, like as they are, just stock. It's not really my deal. They need a few things, and then they can sound pretty cool. But they can sound kind of like woofy. Well, just I don't know. I mean, not bad, but just regular. Regular. That's just my opinion. A couple tweaks though, pretty great for sure. Have you ever tried out the Greer Lightspeed Organic Overdrive? Says Night Mission. I have not. I haven't tried that one. Sorry. Aiden is asking about if the Boss Dimension pedals clip. Pretty sure mine clips, but I have no idea whether it's intentional or just faulty. I guess it's possible. These things depend largely too on what you're running in front of it. Like if you're running a buffer or any kind of clean boost or any kind of drive into it, you could hit it and make it clip, I'm sure. Anything mod choruses and stuff for digital, they can clip, It's like you have to be careful. If you find, okay, here's the way to test it. Turn it off. Play into a clean sound and play hard. Now turn it on and play into the clean sound. Do you hear distortion, when you turn it on? A lot of choruses will do it, but the Dimension D, a lot of analog choruses do it too. It's a thing to be aware of with analog pedals because they don't make them like they used to. The chips can be hard to find. This is something like Kevin Sir did in the Sir chorus. He spent a lot of time figuring out how to make headroom because the chips aren't what you could get back in the day, and they don't have as much headroom for some reason. I don't know why. So you need to do tricks with like makeup gain and stuff like that in order to build headroom into these things. True story. So many times I'll get an analog chorus and I'll play it. I'm like, where'd the distortion come from when I turn this thing on? It's got a slightly unpleasant, I didn't know what it was. And that's what it is, that they're just not made the same. And the chips, they don't have the headroom. And then so you kind of need to use them with low output pickups or roll the volume down a little bit or use a compressor to kind of keep things under control because the spikes can create overdrive. So it's a thing. But also just, a dimension. Once again, it just depends on your pickups and what you're running in front of it. If you're hitting it hard, it might clip. You're saying you hear it with gain sounds. If you're running the distortion in front of the mod, which you might be, maybe you're boosting a lot coming out of it and it's hitting the front end and kicking the crap out of it. Aiden says it's in the effects loop of my Kemper. Well, that's might be kind of line levelish, maybe. Getting there, maybe. It adds extra frequencies when it's on. I think it's probably intentional, just using regular Strat and Jazzmaster. Why don't you try running the output of the... I don't know where the effects loop in the Kemper comes, but try running it's probably before the outputs or something. So try running the amp sound level output lower. Does that make sense? And then can you make up the gain with the master at the end? Is that post? Look at how where the loop comes in the chain and just drop the signal going into the... You shouldn't change. I mean, it's an amp model or a profile. So, it's probably definitely before the effect loop. Probably definitely. But you know what I mean. Just lower the output of the amp profile thing and then find a way to do the makeup gain at the end, and it might sound better. Probably pretty easy to do that, tweak that and make it work. Yeah. Let's see. Eric Johnson says the Soldano Astro Verb 16 sounded like the best little JCM 800 I've ever heard. That's interesting. I don't know how different they are circuit-wise and stuff. The amps I was mentioning, I mean, I know like those Laney amps, for instance, they were pretty much dead nuts JCM 800s, like with a couple different things with the circuit when you look at them, you know. Very JCM 800-ish. There was some PV amps that came out in the maybe early 2000s or 90s, like the Windsor or something one was called, I think, maybe. It was like a, you know, obviously British super JCM 800. So, yeah. Bobby Valdez is up in the super chat. He says, in a small club, one like the Baked Potato, without a sound guy, is the ombre loud enough with enough clean headroom for rhythm playing? If it's Billy Gibbons style rhythm playing, they mic in there, you know? So, I mean, like, you know, there's if you're talking about the Baked Potato, they have mics in there. So I've seen people play very small amps in there, and I've seen Mike play big amps, 100 watts. It just depends. It's kind of a dead room, so it's like you can actually get away with a really loud amp in there, and it's pretty cool because it's so dead and soaks up all the, you know, it's not too. But you're asking more. The ombre's loud. Jamie Kime played through it, and his comment was, "This would be great." Like he was like, "This could be really cool." And I said, "It's loud enough, right? Like, am I crazy?" And he's like, "No, it's dirty and it's MIDI, so the mids." The mids give the illusion of volume. Even if an amp is clean and more mid scooped, it doesn't sound as loud to me, even though on a dB meter it might look loud. When you hit a chord hard, it'll spike quite loud, you know, and then fade away, right? Almost like an acoustic guitar. But with more mids in the sound, like when you think of an AC30, which can be pretty upper mid, you know, even at 30 watts, I remember playing an outdoor gig once, and the sound guy commenting on it, "Can you angle that a little?" God, they're so penetrating. He was like way back at front of house, and he's like blown away with how the AC30 was cutting like a knife right through the front of house, you know. And it's the frequencies in the sound more than the wattage or the volume, you know, because you can have all things created equal. A loud bass sound doesn't sound as loud as a loud guitar sound with lots of mids, right? You know, bass could be like 400 watts and like really loud, but it's just the way our ears perceive sound, where they're sensitive. If you've got mids in the sound. So anyway, God, I get so damn long-winded sometimes, don't I? Ombre, lots of mids. So, yeah, I think for, you know, it's never going to be real clean, but you're going to be able to get some volume, maybe enough for a mid-level drummer, you know, as long as he's not bashing the crash ride, you know. 376 people online. Better go soon. I better get to work. It's 1:30. I'll answer a few more questions and I'm going to split. You guys are talking about Steinbergers. Steinbergers are still made. This is interesting. I don't even know this, but not in the USA, and out of different materials from the original. Instead of full graphite, it's a wood hybrid with some graphite reinforcement. That's interesting. That tells me that I would like the original. I looked recently, and the originals are really expensive, like $3,000, you know, kind of thing and starting. I'd love to get an original, a little one. The thing, you know, not the one with the body or the full size, you know. I'd love a little one. I think it'd be cool. I think the PV Windsor was supposed to be a SIG amp for George Lynch, but the deal fell through, says Chris. Quite inexpensive, weren't they? Like $400 or something, $500. I mean, I think that's when they started making amps overseas, but I think it's mainly it's a JCM 800, really, I think. Similar. Yeah. Christopher Butler says, have I tried or seen videos on the Firefly FF3380 S33? No, sorry, I don't know anything about these guitars. Sounds like it's probably made in, you know, China or Indonesia. Which, you know, whatever works, man. If you can get a good little guitar that makes you happy, go for it. See the Soldano there? Are you keeping it? Yes. Yeah, I scored a couple different amps just to have in the studio for their specific character. Got my Jose situation there, and then the Soldano to have for some different high gain flavors. To have a little different stuff. Any thoughts on Strymon Volante with distorted tone? I have never tried the Volante, to be honest. It's something they didn't get me to do a video of it. No, I don't know. They just they make their own videos or whatever, and so I never consequently tried it. But I know the Volante is really supposed to be kind of a Vincent, right? So. Okay, love the M160 on the Ombre M160 versus 121. Both awesome, says Mike. I think it's got a little less low end and is maybe a little more, like maybe I prefer it by itself. 121 is a great thing, but I always feel like I need to trim lows, add high end. The M160 is a little more neutral. That's my takeaway. Both cool. I like the 122 more than the 121, to be honest, because it's got the preamp in it and it's more open sounding. 122 can sound great on its own. Really nice mic. 121 is a classic at this point, but I need to blend it with a 57, I feel like. All this talk of nuts, says Richard. Just got a Sur Indigo Classic S, so much like a Charvel, except for the nut width. Do any of my Surs have a 1 11/16? I don't think so. I think they're all more like the 1 5/8 kind of thing. I could be wrong. Good question. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I should split. What amp would I play if I didn't play my signature Sur? Probably a Marshall Plexi. If I had to do a modern one, maybe it would be a I don't know, Friedman or something, like a BE Deluxe, a 50 Deluxe or something that gave me the versatility for stage. Yeah, I would say that would be probably something along those lines. What Sur amp would I play if it wasn't my signature? Oh, well, so like I'm a really big fan of the Hedgehog for certain things. It's really great for American style stuff, and I've often thought if I was to do a tour with Don Henley again or something, I would probably maybe try the Hedgehog, because it's like great for that Eagles, more that warm drive. Eagles weren't known for Marshalls, so you can do that more American style thing, I think, maybe more accurately. So what am I studying lately? Just some random stuff that I found on. I'll occasionally now I learned how to screen record on my phone, so I'll find like a cool Instagram lesson. There's these different guys that do like Instagram, short lessons and things like that, and I'll record it on my phone, and then I'll bring it over to my computer, and then I can pull it up in Transcribe and slow it down. So that's something I do a lot. So I've done a few of those recently. I'll just find somebody playing something, and I can bring it over and try and learn it. Other than that, I'm just making videos and writing songs and doing my own thing mainly. Let's see. What songs have I recorded have I used my Comet on, and what model do I have? It's a Concorde. I love my Concorde. To be honest, I don't know that it's on any of my records. It should be. There's no reason why not. You're making me feel guilty. I'd love to do it. It's great if you do like a Marshall on one side and then the Comet on the other side, and blend do a rhythm track like that, where you got them both going. But use the Comet more, says Victor. I know I really should. The old videos with the 335 were awesome. That's some of the very first videos I ever put on YouTube. So that is old. You've been around. You've been here for a while. Yeah, I should use it more. All right, I will. I'll do something more with it. I'll use it more in videos and stuff. Yeah. What are the tubes you like best? Brand? I I used, if I can find good matched or not matched, good tested Chinese preamp tubes, the 12AX7s, those are my favorites for, especially in Marshall circuits for new tubes. And power tubes, EL34s are great. That's what we've been using in the PT100s now. So I'm happy with that, the Chinese preamp tubes and the EH. For other tubes, JJ6V6 is what we use in the PT15, and they're great. JJ6V6 is known as a robust, really good tube that, for whatever reason, that particular tube is really roadworthy, and they last a long time, and it's just it's a sturdy tube. So Preston says, you've been here since the first vids. Thanks, man. Thank you all you guys for being here. I do appreciate it. And Stephen Douglas is asking how to record IG videos. I'll show you guys this really quick. Okay, on the screen on your iPhone, it's this button right here that looks like the little circle with the dot in it. You hit that, and it'll start a screen recording. I think, yeah. See, 2, 1 counts down. Now it's recording my screen. So if I go to a different screen, and here I was making the thumbnail for my video today. Now it's going to record that as a video. And then you can see it's red up there in the corner. You just hit that, stop. Now it stops and it goes into your photos. And you'll have a video. So you can record anything, that whatever's going on the screen, it'll record the audio and the video. So you can record little, guitar things or YouTube things right off your phone, store it in photos, and then have it for later. Very helpful, I think. If you haven't done that before, I like it a lot. All right, guys, I'm going to split. Everybody have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Coming up soon, few weeks, Peter Frampton going to do the show. I'm honored. He's got a new book coming out. Might be out already, but I don't think so. I think it's coming out soon. I'm going to read it before he's here, and it'll be a fun one. So get your questions ready for Peter. He's a wealth of knowledge and experience and a legend. Okay, everybody, have a terrific week, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for everybody for doing the super duper top chat. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Ben Coombs, for being here, moderating. Love y'all. Take care, guys.